Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number. And we are Charnopher.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Charna fans with a Z.
Charno fans, here we go.
We're back. And
We are.
Christopher, I'm just going to begin. With a kind of being transparent. Christopher and I are exhausted today. It's not going to change the podcast. We are
No, absolutely
ready?
not. If anything, it will give us life.
Especially with this episode and topic in particular. But what's funny is the topic itself is, I think, the reason we're exhausted.
100%.
So we just came out of Tech Week. Well, Tech and Show Week. We closed a show yesterday.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have performed or directed or been in any sort of area near that, you know how crazy that day after is when your body's finally like, oh, okay, now I can get out of survival mode. And yeah, we're both a little tired. But we're gonna make it happen.
And you had to go to work all morning too.
I did. But you know what?
Fun times.
It's all right.
We're here. So yes, it's crazy to think about that we from 1 week ago today is when we entered the theater, checked the whole thing, put up the whole show, and closed the whole show. So fast.
Just you saying that made me want to close my eyes. I'm
Right.
so tired. Like I literally was picturing that in my head, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot." And you know what's even crazier? I had we just closed Something Rotten, by the way. And I had my sister-in-law and her boyfriend come to the show on opening night. And they're not theater people, but they've seen theater, especially because, you know, that's what I do. So I've seen it. But the boyfriend, he was like, he wanted all the information. He's like, I don't understand how long did you work on this? You know, and he's very curious. And then he's like, and how long are you in the theater? And then how many more weekends do you have shows? And when I said that we just did the one weekend, he was like a combination of super surprised, but also like angry. Like, he was like, I don't understand. Why would you work so hard and create such an amazing production to then just be like, okay, one weekend and bye. And I think that with youth theater, school theater, that's how it is most of the time. When I was growing up, we had 2 weekends of shows at school.
Same, actually.
You did? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a lot of effort, energy, emotion, time, like in 1 week. And, you know, we're going to talk about, we'll introduce the topic in a second. So I'll tie in. But yeah, I just talking to somebody sort of out of the theater circle about it. I got even more like, yeah, we're kind of crazy. Like what? We like devoted 110% of our brain power to one thing for the last week, you know? It's crazy.
Yeah, 110%
no wonder we're exhausted.
is accurate. More than 100%.
Yeah.
I know that's not technically possible, and yet here we are.
But it is, you know, and it's just crazy because it's outside of the actual space too. Like when you get home and you're trying to like decompress, and you're still just like your brain is going a mile a minute and you're like, okay, what do we got to do tomorrow? And talking about things that happened from the night before. And it's like a constant.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally drained.
Well, and I think some of the reason that it happens, I think, is the fact that, it's a combination of things. It's people availability. It's, but I think it comes down to money a lot of times, unfortunately. And space and time, but like especially like in our case with this show, it would cost so much more money to rent a theater for another weekend, and then the rights for the show for another weekend, and then
those are the
for
two.
Another weekend,
that's
and that.
Totally the two reasons. Yeah, it's the money and it's the space. Yeah. And like in education,
money, I know at OSHA we run into the fact that it butts up against. There's only so much time in the space that, it's a shared space. So,
and I think that's very specific to our school because we have so many different performing things going on. Whereas like at a public school, they could probably do 2 weekends. They might even, I don't know. I haven't looked at a traditional public school schedule for their performances, but yeah, at OSHA, it's like you can barely get that weekend because then the next thing's happening. But I think too, it's time and money. You're paying all of your crew, you're paying everybody to be there who's running the show, 100%. And then the theater space and also the licensing. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's all included.
So on that note, Christopher, I'm kind of excited. Yes. We've been discussing this topic all week because it's very timely. But we're going to discuss the stages of Tech Week today.
Yes, it's like the stages of grief.
But probably a little more fun. I mean, in terms of like talking 100%. About it. I don't know about experiencing 100%. It, but
yeah.
So all
right.
What did we land on? 4 stages?
I think it's 5. 4, like
5 stages.
3rd and 4th are sort of like associated directly, but it's still a separate stage. Okay. But going into Tech Week, the first stage we decided is excitement because we're like, we're in the theater, we're going in. Yeah. It's going to be so exciting to see it on the stage.
It's also that last rehearsal in your rehearsal space. If that goes well, it is, even if it doesn't go well, but if it definitely goes well, it's this moment of like, oh, we get to go on to the next step, the next level, right? Like we've accomplished
the next stage, if you will.
To accomplish. No pun intended. The next stage. We're going to the stage, which is the next stage. Okay, I'm sorry. If you guys are watching this, I cannot get comfortable in my chair. I'm turning it. I'm moving. I'm so sorry, Charno fans. I can't. Pardon. My back is hurting. Oh my gosh, I'm in a mood. I'm tired. Oh, no. My back is hurting. No, I got to get it together. But it's true. It's true.
Together,
like
Sharna.
I was super excited about getting into the space and getting in the theater. It's also excitement around the other elements that get to finally be put into place. So scenic design and getting the kids on the sets and having the performers be in the pictures you want them to be in and the formations and the spaces and really finally like solidifying that, seeing them in their costumes. It used to be for us.
For me, it's always the lighting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For me, when I was younger, it was the music because we would have live music. That was a huge,
100%.
Huge thing for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's when we do live music, the rarity.
It was my favorite day.
The Sitz Probe?
Yes, and or that first dress rehearsal with the orchestra. I loved it.
Now, did you always have a Sitz Probe or no?
Well, in high school, we had like a really like a combo or a band of adults, and yes, we would always do one. And then the theater that I grew up in outside of school, we had a full orchestra and we always had a Sitz Probe. They would come and we would do a rehearsal on the stage. We would just sit on the stage and they would play through the whole show and we'd just sing it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you for defining a Sitz Probe. I was going to say, what's a Sitz Probe, Sharna?
There you go. You got it. Where you just sing through the show without any of your blocking or choreography so the musicians can get a feel.
Right. Yeah. I always, if I have a choice, I always do a Sitz Probe because it's just one less element or one more element that's done before you put it all together.
I think it's smart
if
too because everything tensions run high, 900 things are flying at you, and I think oftentimes
hmm
it just becomes more of like we'll figure it out later, or just follow along,
hmm
instead of like
yeah,
let's take time to get these tempos correct, or how does this entrance go, or
yeah,
whatever it might be. Yeah, I
yeah,
I love
exactly.
them. I love them.
Yeah, I love a sits
So
probe.
that's an exciting. It is. It's exciting, and
Yeah,
it's exciting all around. Who's going to come see the show? How are tickets going to sell? I seeing it all come together. Things that maybe cast members struggled with in rehearsal now are like working because they have more space, or they have all of their
more
props or different.
space.
Yeah,
Exactly.
scenery and they're and I think too. I think it's with any performer, but definitely with kids when they get their costume and wig on, it transforms them. It doesn't matter how great of an
Mm,
actor they are. I think once they're in that, like it helps finalize who they are.
yeah,
So
that
that
makes
part's
sense
exciting. Yeah, excitement.
because they look in
Stage
the
one.
mirror and they see their character rather than themselves.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, all
What's
right,
stage
day
two,
one,
Christopher?
excitement quickly fades as you run into tech issue number 555 and terror sets in.
I mean,
Because
if that's not
let's
the
be
perfect
honest,
word, if someone has a better word, Charno fans, feel free to
we are open to
hit
it.
us up on Instagram because I want to hear. It's terror. It's absolute terror of, oh my gosh, is this going to come together? It
Yeah.
is whatever piece that is not working, projections, this scene change, costume change, just microphones, whatever it may be. It's
Mm,
like I'm
microphones are
not
my
sure,
favorite.
and you're not.
Not.
You haven't gone to the next stage yet. You're still kind of in this limbo of like, I'm
Oh, yeah.
terrified, but I'm holding it in a little bit, right? Like,
hmm
I'm a little nervous, and the terror is setting in that we're not going to get something
Yeah.
done, or we're not going to get to run this more than one time. We're just going to have to go with it. So
And the fun part about the terror is as directors, we have to internalize it or complain to each
Mhm.
other about it, but we can't show it to the cast. We can't
I
be
mean,
like, you people, we have no idea how we're going to do this. Because then that just spreads.
what
Let's
if we
spread the
said that?
terror.
What if we like gathered the kids and we're like, listen here, friends, we're your leaders. And we don't think this is gonna happen. Okay. So let's just wanna run Act 2, Scene 1? Okay, great. Let's go. Here we go. Top of Act 2. Like, can you imagine if that's
Oh,
what we did? Can you imagine? All right,
I
cast
think next
to the
show we
stage, please.
actually
Cast to the
do that
stage.
just for fun,
Oh my
just to
gosh.
see what happens. I'm going
I
to
already
video
feel
it.
like I'm not negative, but I feel like sometimes I focus a bit more on not I don't care if they're Broadway stars, but for me it's the like following directions and knowing your
Yes.
stuff. So every time we get in the theater and we hit this terror moment, a lot of it stems from, hey friends, that's on you. Like, I cannot sit out in row J and help you learn how to do your box step and turn the right way. And also remember to bring on your prop and then move. Like, you have to do it. And I think oftentimes I get a little stuck in that zone of like,
Mm.
they're just not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Okay. Hey, friend number 5. Hey, how, like it's not like I have to switch it in my brain because you and I are over there in row
Yeah.
J, like, oh my God, blah, 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 and then we're like, okay, cast, like we have to, it's like a switch. It's a switch.
We put the Disney voice on.
I mean, for the best, as best I can. Sometimes I don't. And
I
I
know.
think too, what's really, you know what, I think it's different when you're working professionally. When I was working professionally, Tech Week was a lot different than when you're working with kids and working with
Yes.
theater. It is different. Yeah, you're experienced,
Yes. To a certain extent.
Yeah,
I will say,
well,
to a certain extent.
I'm sure there's still some professionals who have some traits of our students, but sometimes I think back to when I was a kid and like they're still in excitement stage. They don't hit terror. They
Mhm.
skip terror. They're in stage 1 and stage 5. the cast, the kids, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, and they're making all these
Yes.
memories, and like they're like, oh my gosh, and they have these little show crushes or these little new friend groups that they've made, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so fun, and we could do this part, and look at our scenery right here, and like they're all in the
Mm-hmm.
excitement stage,
Right.
So I feel like
Which is
oftentimes they're
great.
sidetracked. Yes, but I think sometimes that sidetracks them from the like moment where they should be like, oh shoot,
100%.
I didn't do my thing.
Yeah.
Or I didn't set my prop because they're too busy being like, Joey said hi to me or whatever, and they're completely in another land. I always love when
Oh,
kids
man.
miss
Yes.
cues in tech, and then they come out, they're like, I'm so sorry, and I'll be like, how long have we been running this show? Like, how could you possibly miss your cue? What were you doing?
Well, sometimes people's minds just wander. They're like, oh, look, a butterfly in the middle of my stage. Is it there really? I don't know. And then they just are off on tangent number 25 down their brain. And they're like, oh shoot.
Man. Yeah.
Missed my cue.
It's funny. It's out of Tech Week and talking about it now. It's funny. In Tech Week, it can get very frustrating.
You're like,
on a director
my head
end.
explode.
And also, I have to then check myself and be like, okay, teaching moment, like just remind them, it's our job. And I think this stays in the realm of our podcast, but I don't think the kids sense often how incredibly terrified we are. They might see it like in a frustration, but like that moment of terror on day 2 of tech,
Yeah.
It's usually a time thing for me.
It's real.
I think that's one of the biggest moments of terror where I'm like, we've double cast this show, which was never a thing when I was younger. At my school, we double cast. But like, am I going to get to this other cast? Are they going to have time to do this? Are we going to have time to run the 9 scenes I want to run? Are we going to have time to work? Like, it's the time component for me, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, when you're crunching, in this case, when we crunched everything into 3 days, that is not much. And it's not like actual 3 days, not like an 8-hour day of tech.
No.
It's 3-4 hour days.
And I think too,
when you think about that, we put the whole show together in 12 hours.
Yeah. That's nuts.
That's stupid.
Come on, professionals. Let's see you
No
try
wonder
and do that.
we're terrified.
And honestly though, this show, I mean, we do great shows. I feel like the stuff we worked on together has always been great, but this in particular really was really great quality, good level of professionalism. But I think that was a big difference when I was younger. We had 2 whole weeks of after school in the theater, because there wasn't another conservatory or organization trying to come in and be on the stage. We had a lot of time. We had a lot of time.
That is something that we are lacking now.
The theater I grew up at, though, like outside of school, I remember doing like maybe Saturday through. We didn't have, because Tuesday was preview days.
That's
Wednesday
what I'm
was
used
opening.
to.
I can't remember exactly.
We went to tech on Saturday. We did an all-day Saturday, like literally like a 12-hour day Saturday, like a 10-hour day Sunday, and then evenings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then open Thursday.
The time terrifies me. And when you're renting somewhere, it's not like, now we're fortunate that the few places we've gone, they're decent, but that custodian's right on your butt at 9 p.m. Like, get out of here, and you're like, calm down.
Like sweeping us up.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, there was one
chimney,
night this week where I was like,
chim chiree.
It's just like, okay, dude, like we're getting out of here. But I think that's hard too. You don't have the time like to, cast, clean up, go home, and then collectively sit or move or tweak or whatnot. Like you just kind of gotta squeeze it all in. For sure.
Gotta go.
That's terrifying. Do you hear my yawn? Oh my gosh, you guys.
Yeah.
I need a Celsius. Celsius, you want to sponsor us?
An infusion.
I will drink my Celsius
on
this podcast. Okay, next one.
After terror, we enter the land of murderous anger.
when we came up with that, I can remember right where we were standing this week in the wings.
Yeah.
And we were just cracking up. Yes. Murderous anger. Where you have now let the terror take over. And I can recall several moments. And you know what? It's funny because, yes, we're exhausted, but this tech week honestly was not in comparison to others.
It was
this one was pretty mild. This one was
in many respects. It was pretty mild.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think scenically it was not a large show. So in terms of scene changes and pieces, very simple. And I want to do that for every show, every single show. Just know, friends, if you're coming out to do a show with Charna Lopez, we're going to have some platforms. No, I don't want anything else. Because
platforms and projections.
That takes a lot of time to set in the theater. So I felt like that helped a lot with this one in particular. But yes, there were moments of murderous anger. But not too many in this week.
Not too many.
I think
I just had a few of like, I have told you this 5,000 times. Can you please just do what I've asked?
And the answer is no. No, I will not. I'll do it on Monday in my room when I'm sad the show's over and I'm like singing a song and I'll be like, oh, Mr. Smith.
Oh, there's my harmony.
That was kind of like our ongoing joke throughout the week was like, oh, it'll be perfect on Monday. It'll be perfect on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's only so many times, Christopher, you and I have talked about this. I hate, and I'll use the word hate, giving notes more than once, because I find it's one of several things, but one of two things. Either the performer doesn't have enough respect for either the director, themselves, the show, whatever it may be, to actually take a minute and think about it and care, or they haven't even heard you in the first place. I've realized. So when I was younger, we didn't have phones. And so we'd have to sit and write our notes. Now, I know kids can type them on their phones. We do tons of stuff on our phones. But I think sometimes it's not tangible for them, right? So like you say a note and they're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm like, but do you really? That's when the murderous anger comes out because you didn't do it. Yes. And then I wrote it down again. And then I also wrote it down another time and you're still doing it the wrong way.
Right. Correct.
Murderous anger.
There was one particular one, which I will not say out loud because it'll out this person. But there was one particular one that I just had it.
Yeah.
Over the weekend.
You know what's funny?
Like, okay.
As a director, when I was early on in my directing career, at OSHA, I had my boss at the time come in Tech Week, and she would take notes on the show.
No, thank you.
And you know what's funny? The first time I was like, what are you doing? But I had a conversation with her. I said, you know what? I'm not opposed. I love a second set of eyes. I really do. But I have some rules and boundaries within my directorial area. Like, if you're going to do that, I need you to come in 2 weeks before we're in Tech Week. I don't want, when we're in Tech Week, that's not helpful.
No.
Secondly.
No, because we can't change anything, really.
Exactly.
Unless it's like scenically, like, you know, you're having a traffic problem over there. If it's like logistical issues for the second set of eyes, it's fine.
I don't need,
Well, yeah, but just seeing it maybe.
Right. But more like acting notes, right? And then secondly, I want it to be left up to me. So even if you do come in and take notes, if I'm the director and it is my show. So thank you for your opinion. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, awesome. Or no, thank you. But thirdly, I will recall this is so clearly. I remember her saying something and she's like looked at me like, why is this kid not blah, blah, blah. I wrote this down. And I looked and I said, I would love for you to let this kid know that exact note that you just gave, maybe for the 900th time. So I've given up. You know, you can come in and say, and that happened a lot this week because I had a co-director and there were things that Parker directed that I didn't. And when we got in there, I was like, oh, what do you want them to do? And he's like, I've tried, you know, and it's not, it's murderous anger. It's just, exactly. I have asked said friend, I don't know, many, many times. And at this point, we're just going to go with what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. Carry on. At which point we get to the rest sort of tied in, because murderous anger gets to a point where, since you can't actually murder anybody, because that's wrong.
And we would never.
You just go, and we would never. I quit the play. I'm done. I quit the play.
Okay, but honestly,
that's it.
I think that's my favorite one.
Oh,
because now you've
absolutely,
gotten
and we
through
say that all the time.
The like scary emotions, the terror,
yeah,
the anger, and you're like, cool. I'm resigned to the fact that this is what it's going to be. I quit the play.
Yep.
I quit the play.
Carry on. I quit. See you at opening. Have a good night.
Some of it is like so.
I walked out of the sound booth at least 2 or 3 times, and I was like, goodbye.
Yeah. Just got it.
I gotta go.
I can't remember what show it was, but I can picture the scene. It'll come to me probably as I'm telling the story. And I think it was like early on when I was at OSHA. And it was a scene with a telephone. And it was like an old, like a rotary telephone where they had to put it to their ear.
Was it in Bye Bye Birdie for the telephone song?
So that's what I originally wanted to think. It's not in Telephone Hour, but maybe in The Office. But no, and or maybe it was Annie. I don't know. But
it could be.
The character, the performer, the actor could not use the phone correctly. And the first time it happened, I was like, well, that's clearly because they're a kid of the 2000s, 15 or whatever it was. So I'm going to teach them, right? And I taught them.
Oh, no.
It didn't matter. And it got to the point that I quit the play. I just quit the play. I was like, I even came up one time to, and it was a boy. And I said, I don't know how else to tell you. I don't know how, like, I'm standing here and I've told you several times how to do it. It's not like choreography. It doesn't take coordination. You have to put it to your ear. If you hold it out here, you wouldn't. And I explained,
what's happening?
Speakerphone in the 20s. I went back and I explained to him like how a phone would work and how you'd hear what was being said through there and how you would have to cover. So part of the scene, I think it might have been Bye Bye Birdie, but when they're in the office, I don't know.
Or maybe How to Succeed.
Maybe, but where you have to cover the part that you speak into if you were going to say something and you didn't want the person to hear. And it's remember,
called a microphone.
Exactly. And I sat there and I was like, no, I give up. I quit the play. This is now the new way we use a phone because this poor child they couldn't get it.
But how does he think his cell phone works?
I don't know.
The same way.
I don't know. The other ones are.
I'm flabbergasted.
A big one for me when I quit the play, and you know this, Christopher, from all of our shows we've done. And you know what's funny? In Something Rotten this last week, this did not happen. Thank goodness, because I usually reverse back to murderous anger. When something's dropped on stage and people don't pick it up.
Yes.
I cannot, I say it. We say it at Green Room. We say it, if something falls, we say it in rehearsal. And I always use the example of, friends, if you were standing in a room and you dropped a pencil, would you look at it as if it were going to murder you? Would you walk around it and avoid it at all costs because it was going to bust out in flames? Like, no, you'd pick it up. If you dropped a pencil in your real life, you would pick it up. You wouldn't stare at it. You wouldn't kick it. You wouldn't nudge it. You wouldn't tap it. You wouldn't kick it under a bench. You would pick it up. Drives me. See, I quit the play. And I also reversed to murderous anger also on that one. I don't, because, and I think it's as a performer, and you've been on stage, Christopher, certain people are very comfortable on stage. They're usually the ones that can think in the moment. They can move outside of their designated line of what they're supposed to do. Some kids are not. And it is as if the entire world is falling to pieces around them because the lamp tipped over on stage, and you're just like, pick it up.
What do I do?
Pick it.
What do I do?
I dropped my scarf. I dropped my scarf. My scarf is down. My scarf is down. I got to drop my scarf. I got to keep going. My scarf is down. And P.S., my friend, everyone is staring at said scarf. Everyone's just staring at it. So just pick it up, even if it's not yours.
Get up.
I think it was Matilda. I think, and I should have asked Maddie about this. I think it was Matilda. No, it was not Matilda.
It doesn't matter.
Something fell. And I think every cast member, oh no, it was another show at a different studio, so I'm not gonna put it out there. Every cast member walked by it. It was a big chorus number. Not only walked by it, stepped over it, kicked it again, stepped over it again, squashed it, kicked it. I was like, friends, I just missed the entire number.
No.
I don't even know what the song was because I was looking at this bucket that was just on the ground.
No.
Pick it up.
That is
and
incorrect.
I will say this week our kids were pretty good with that. There were a couple things that got left or dropped and they picked it up. I always love telling the story of Bella Lloyd and Anything Goes when someone's hat fell off and she put it on top of her own hat. Do you remember that?
Yes.
In the middle of a dance number, she already had a sailor hat. Someone else's fell off and she picked it up. And so she was wearing 2 hats. The whole number it was perfect.
It was so fun.
That's how you do it.
It was exactly perfect.
Or it's like if someone sneezes on stage. I always tell the kids, say bless you. Like, if you sneeze on stage, like if someone were to see, if we were having a scene in Guys and Dolls and I'm Adelaide and I sneeze, well, I guess she sneezes all the time. If we're doing a scene in Annie and Tessie sneezed, I'm her friend Annie. Well. I wouldn't stare at her like, oh my gosh, you just sneezed. You know, I don't know. Like,
no,
it gets, so when the kids can't do
it's like
those
just
things.
Live your life like you would live your life.
I quit the play.
Just do it. Oh man.
Or I also it's with tech SNL stuff
sketch.
Too.
Sketch? With what? Wow. I want to do an SNL sketch about dropping things on stage, like a whole situation.
I mean, can we write in to SNL and be like, can you please do this? Honestly, we should just do it and put it on our podcast. We should just film it.
Great. We will.
I'm gonna write it. Oh my gosh. There's so many all I have to do is just replay things that have happened in previous shows. I don't even have to make anything up. I can just do it.
No.
Like,
I love that.
Oh my gosh, it's too funny. It's too funny. I will say, oftentimes for me in tech, when I want to quit the play is when the actual tech elements don't go right. Because I'm like, look, I did my job. My kids know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm doing. We had everything ready. And now we're in here. And, there's one person on stage and their microphone's not on. So I quit the play.
Yeah.
It's just one person.
It's always
How are you
when
confused?
There's one person.
Right?
Like, hello?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are they off stage? I understand sometimes you miss a cue when someone starts a line off stage.
Sure.
I understand. That happens sometimes. But yeah.
When they're right there.
Singing a solo on stage by themselves. And and when it literally takes a good 10 to 15 seconds to do it.
Another one. Oh, Christopher. Hello? Another one that gets me is, now we had our own cast run crew for this show. So like we had cast members doing all the scene changes. And I guess it's for anybody. But my big thing is when there's crew and they're in charge of scene changes and it's like the end of the number, right? La, blackout. Mm-hmm. And then I could count to 1, 2, 3 before a single human enters the stage. And I'm like, by all means, move at a glacial pace, friends. We're in no hurry to get to the next scene. Hurry up. Don't walk. Don't saunter to your said location. It is your job. Get out there.
Power walk, people.
Move
Power walk.
Go. Get it to the spot. Hustle. Like, I quit the play.
Put some pep in your step.
All right. What's our last one?
Our last one, and this is a good one. We get there, we open the show, it goes so well, and we enter the land of elation.
It's the best one. It's the best one.
It is.
And usually sometimes for me, it's not even on opening. Like opening, I almost sometimes have an intermittent moment of just like relief before I get to the elation. I think it's that once the show lands, for us, this particular production was opening night. Like opening night was fabulous.
Yeah. It was so great.
Some shows it takes a night or two. Like opening night's almost like your last dress rehearsal. Of that relief. Okay, we did it. And now, but yeah, once it's like on its feet and running. And I think the elation also comes with bringing in the audience. So that's the last piece of a theater puzzle, right? That's the last element to be added. And I love when an audience comes in because, my cast is always sick of hearing me cackle at them, but they can get, they get different laughs and the applause, and that, I mean, that's a huge part of live theater, and finding the timing and the tempo of things now that you have this other part, and that element definitely brings me into that like elated feeling of, oh my gosh, we did it, and the audience loves it, and the kids now are feeling good and they're like settling in. I love that.
Well, and it's also fun, which sort of happened with this show too, is when your show is ready before you get like really ready before you go into tech. Because there's times when you're like, well, it's tech week, we still got to fix some things, but we were pretty good to go this time. And it's fun to be able to tell them, you really just need an audience now. That's the missing piece of the puzzle. And it's so true. It's like that final
and especially
piece
with this show.
Just goes, yeah.
You know, it's
100%.
I think it's interesting because I haven't done, obviously, musical theater mostly, especially things you're going to do with kids, is musical comedy, right? So I haven't done with kids anything too, I don't want to say serious, but even some more of the serious musicals, there's still a comedy element. But I wonder, I think of like Les Mis, right? I've never been in Les Mis. I love Les Mis. Actually, I just bought tickets to go see Les Mis with Jerry. I know, I'm excited. It's like one of his favorite shows. I wonder, as a performer, if that's a different feeling, because the audience is so, every time I've seen that show, I'm so moved, I'm crying, but you're not making noise and laughing and like responding. Do you know what I mean? Like Master of the House is probably the only one that you're going to get that like comedy. So I wonder if you're like a drama,
which
like
is
if
why
you're
it's there.
A serious actor in a drama, like that interaction with the audience is different.
I can't speak for the actor. I just know even when I did it for a few weeks in the pit, I thought, I was like, I don't know if I would want to do this like on Broadway on a contract or on tour, because even just doing it for a few weeks was a lot. Even just living through it in the pit, there's just a lot of emotion. To like have to go through all the time. It's draining. So you have, which is its own thing. You have to learn how to leave it on the stage or leave it in the pit in my case. And I'm not even acting it. But the music affects me.
Oh, totally. And I just think from that audience component, right? It's very different. Like, especially coming off of this week where our show, every other line is hilarious or something, you know, and impressive. I mean, that the musical number, I mean, that applause is like any other, like no other applause I've ever seen in a youth theater show. Like crazy. So that's always fun. And that I definitely feel like being prepared and knowing that that's just what these kids, like the kids are prepared. They know their stuff. We just need that last element. And then it definitely brings us into that like, oh yay, our show, it's good. It's going to be good. Now we don't have to quit the play. We rejoined the play.
That's right. We rejoined the play. We re-signed up.
Yeah.
We quit the play. We walked around the building. We realized it's going to be fine. And we walked back in the door.
And you know what's funny? I've never had anyone ever like walk out, but I'm sure there have been instances in some theaters, places where directors, musical directors, whomever, at some point in Tech Week are just like, I'm leaving this. I'm quitting the play for 15 minutes. I'll be back. Like I could see that.
I've legitimately done that.
Really?
I have legitimately done that. Yes.
Like I just need a break.
Because I don't remember what it was, but I was just so done. I was fed up.
Yeah.
Like I had just spent like it was kind of like my my poor Willy Wonka socks.
Oh yeah.
Socks Oompa Loompa. I just spent 10 minutes going over something very specific, and then we go out there and we do it. And it wasn't like it was halfway through the show. It was probably something from like an opening number. So it's not like 45 minutes had passed. It had been like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yes.
What? What just happened right now? I'm done.
No explanation.
I quit the play.
No explanation.
Goodbye. I'll be back later.
I think too, the
Maybe
Terror, Murderous Anger, I Quit the Play series of our stages. I think there's a lot. It reminds me sometimes like being a mom. Truly, where you're like, so many things are coming at you and you're trying to like okay, cast member needs this, tech needs this, stage manager needs this. Oh, lighting has this question, and it's kind of like you know, and you're
Yeah.
trying to navigate it all. That's very overwhelming. Combined with
Mm-hmm.
this, oh, this is on me. Like I need to ensure that all of this gets done. I need to ensure that the 25 things that were just coming at me, it's my responsibility at the end of the day, right? So I think there's a part of
Yeah.
that where it's like, and you know what we should have also, you know what, it's not a stage of Tech Week. I think it is a flair, a embellishment, a additive is humor. If and I think that is why you and I and Parker and Maddie, who we just work with, work so well together. Because if you cannot find the humor in some of these terrifying, murderous quitting moments, you
might actually murder and quit.
But right, like there's so many times where like all of us at one point would like have an outburst and then we'll just start laughing like, okay, well, you have to find the comedy and you have to find the humor and the humanity in it, because at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. And I think it also just it alleviates some of that like tension, you know.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And it's like, again, like I don't want to say a mom, but a parent, when if you had, 45 kids, all who need you and all who need you at the same time. And where does this go, Sharna? Where do you want this? Where do you want to put what's my eyeshadow? Am I going to do this? Where do I put my tapestry? Should I set my prop? And it's like, oh my gosh, I just need a second.
Figure it out.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's funny, like the questions that quote professionals ask, like going back to tech things, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Why are you asking me that question right now?
And
so your question is, do you want me to turn on the lights when the curtain goes up and you want to see the children?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
My answer is yes. The other thing, Christopher, that I think I kind of tune it out now. I don't. That's a lie. Cut that out. I don't tune it out. I am so interested when I work with new people on a tech team, when some tech people are lazier than lazy, where I'm like, hey friends, all these kids need to get into microphones. So I'm not talking about this show because our tech crew, this show was on it and really great. But where you're like other places and you're like, yeah, I do want you to get them in microphones because that's your job. What are you waiting for? Like, I do want to do mic check. Why don't you take that on? Yes, we do need to do, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things where I'm just like, I can't do that job.
I already have 5 other jobs.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
Another thing too,
why you get paid. And that's when I get real mad, is when they get paid.
Yeah. Do your job.
I'm like, you are not volunteering your time.
Do your job. Yeah. I think too, another thing that our kids, I didn't really hammer down on it for this show, and I could have more, is cleaning up after yourself. And I know that doesn't really go into our stages.
You kind of hammered it.
Maybe. Thanks. I tried, I guess.
Not full sledgehammer, but like a nice regular hammer. A rubber mallet.
I'm an organized person, and you know this about me. Mess makes me crazy anyway. Like my house right now. Let's not talk about it, people. After Tech Week, and I had to wake up and go to work, and I was like, Sharna, close your eyes. Just walk through the house and close your eyes. Don't look at anything.
That's right.
But I think it's a respect thing when it for me with theater. Like, this is your space. I'm not your mommy. I'm not your daddy. I'm not your housekeeper. I'm not your nanny. You clean up after yourself. And that does get me to murderous anger sometimes. When it's just leave their props or their costumes. And I know the show's done and you're excited and you want to go see your friend. But trying to teach them that is as important to me as like, do your kickball change and turn the right way and cross to your mark, because it's a part of theater. Parker and I too, we were really, really frustrated. One frustration was just the lack of like, continuity is not the right word. Dang it. Consistency. When I need you to cross stage right, and this is your mark, because that's where your light's going to be. Right. Well, I kind of crossed stage somewhat right, and it's like, no, we've made a light there.
I went in the general direction.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge part for me too, where I think it's important at this level of high school theater, they need to learn those things, because then we get to, I quit the play.
Absolutely.
Quit the play.
Yes.
Can we? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Well,
Charno fans. Oh, you're not going to hear it because I'm just going to talk with Christopher afterward. I have an idea for our like reel to announce this maybe, but I don't know. We'll talk after. I don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
In case we do it.
Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned.
All right. That was fun.
So
I feel like that was a good debrief from our week.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of Instagram, follow us on Instagram at Charnopher Official. Follow us, like us subscribe on the YouTube, whatever the words are for
YouTube.
that.
On the YouTube.
I do like to say the YouTube.
Hey, we
like
had some listeners ask us, like, they listen to all of the episodes, but they were like, wait, are you guys on YouTube? I want to watch you. I'm like, yes, get on there. Get on there.
If you listen to the episode, then you would hear me say that every week, but okay.
I quit the play.
So anyway, like and subscribe on the YouTube. And if you need to find it and you can't find it on YouTube, go to our website that has all the links and all the information you could possibly need to know about us, is uncommonpod.com. And on that note, Charnopher out.
Oh, you can see my nails.
Debrief. Oh, I love that.
They're chromey. Isn't that
fun? Are they two different colors?
No, they're the same. I think it's just my lighting, but it's fun, right?
Oh, your lighting.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.